Hello, welcome to my show, Could You Be More Specific? I'm your host, Jonathan Steele, and on this episode of Could You Be More Specific, I'm going to delve into the Pusha T and Drake situation, and also I'm going to go further into not believing all the things that we normally tend to see, and more so about reading in between the lines of that. And I'm coming to you through the Stay Woke podcast. I want to thank my man D for helping to help put these shows together. But I'm going to go ahead and get into this topic. Now, it seems like from what I'm gathering that a lot of people believe that Pusha T is winning this battle. And I'm trying to understand why. Why would you think that? Because they're like, oh, well, you know, Drake had blackface and it's the story of Adion and it's for a clothing label. I'm like, well, wait a minute. Hold on. Context is everything. And you're probably thinking like, well, wait a minute, you see someone in blackface. Why would you say context is everything? Well, if the guys supposedly that are working on this, which it'll eventually leak out, is a story of whether it's a short film explaining the history of Jim Crow and just the levels of disrespect that's going on in terms of black artists throughout entertainment and being mocked and ostracized, then that's a legitimate thing. Pusha T works for and works with a guy who just 3 weeks ago was talking about slavery was a choice. But this shows you how short our attention spans are. Is that now blackness is being defined by Pusha T, who works with a guy who has said all the things that he said. Oh, and by the way, Hot 97, Big Boy's Neighborhood, Power 105, they all went to Wyoming to hear the album release. And everyone's been talking about it. And I've heard some of the songs. Some of the songs sound all right. They're pretty good. But that's how short our attention spans are. And now the hype is, how's Drake going to respond? Really? What's there to respond to? In all fairness, Pusha T, and I like Pusha T. I've liked him since he was in the Clips. I think he's been a good to solid solo artist. Some people like him more than others, but I think he's a good rapper. Pusha T has no business going up against Drake. And Drake has more to lose. That'll be like Jay-Z getting into an argument right now with Tekashi. Why would he do that? I got corporate sponsors. I'm on private jets. I don't got time to be arguing with a kid. And if you're Drake, I don't got time to be arguing with a guy who's an associate to another guy that believes our president is a pretty great guy. Well, why all of a sudden are we getting so caught up in this hype of, oh, Pusha T got him here, and he said this, and he's ruining this for him? I'm like, well, no, not necessarily. Now, hey, Drake opened himself up here by mentioning his fiance on the Doopy freestyle. But that's how all these battles get. It gets personal. It got personal between Drake and Meek Mill. And if anyone has mastered personal rap and has handled it better than anyone I've probably ever seen, it's 50 Cent. People can question him on his lyrical ability all they want, and he's a good rapper. Even at his height, he was good. He was never Jay-Z, but 50's always been good. He's been a solid rapper for what he's talked about. But if anybody can handle beef, vendettas, any hype like that, it's 50 Cent. But in regards to this situation with Pusha T and Drake, I just think it's interesting on how people are immediately, they don't stay up with what the actual argument is that's going on. And most of the Doopy freestyle was about Kanye. It wasn't about Pusha T. And in all honesty, why would you guys want to work with a guy who you say doesn't write records, even though we know it's on record, pun intended, that he writes records for other artists? So what, does he hire other writers to write the records for them and then he gets credited as the songwriter? Who knows? I could be wrong, but last time I checked, that's not the case. But you want to work with him. That's what I don't understand. And the more and more you hear about this stuff, it's the reason why I say someone like J. Cole doesn't really want to be in this pool. Doesn't really want to associate with these rappers. That's why he works with a couple guys here and there. And you saw what happened with his situation where he's doing like an hour-long interview with Lil Pump, which, you know, I haven't watched that. I don't want to see a 32, 33-year-old man talk to a 17-year-old. What for? What was the point of it? Obviously, Lil Pump took that personally because he felt like, well, his rap isn't meaningful. It's like, no, your rap is what it is. It's at this moment. And that's fine. Just like what's going on with Drake and Pusha T, it's at this moment, it's fine. People will delve into it. They'll make up their minds on it, and they'll say whatever they have to say. Have the records he's put out on them been good? Yeah, they've been good. It's not back to back. It's not Wankster. It's not Back Down. It's not any classic. It's not the Takeover. It's not Ether. It's a solid record and a meme and a photo. Okay, that's fine. Good for you. But it's just amazing to me. And then especially with Kanye, because it's like people are they're so hyped up in seeing this record come out. I'm just thinking like, okay. I mean, I understand he has new music coming out, but it's like, here we are, we're here and all responsible for the culture. Let's be responsible for the culture. And now Drake is being responsible for the culture. Well, last time I checked, I've never heard Drake say that slavery was a choice. I've never heard him say like, hey, I'm backing Trump. And this is not even a political thing. This is just off of just what they stand on as a human being. Like, get out of the Democrat Republican Party type stuff. Just look at as a human being. You're backing that? Kanye backs that. It will make even less sense for Drake to back it because his records are geared toward women. That's why he doesn't talk about it. Even down to this stuff about, oh, he's got to address race. What for? Not everybody is qualified to talk about every topic. Most people just need to talk about what they're somewhat interested in and look to get information in what they know. Not everybody is qualified to make comments on all issues. Like, don't you think it's a little crazy that, we have women's health panels, but all men are on it? Really? You guys know what it's like to wake up every day and go through the hurdles that women go through every day just to get ready? And I'm not even talking about physical appearances. I'm just talking about just from a biological, genetic standpoint. It's a lot of stuff that goes into being a woman. So we need a men's panel to tell them that? Just like, do I need a panel of people to tell me like, hey, well, how do you think Drake should respond? I just got done watching this thing with Ebro, and he's like, oh, he lost. He had to explain. Yeah. Drake did explain. He did have to release a statement. Because it's like, well, wait a minute. Like, this is beyond rap stuff. You're talking about, like, this is a personal stuff. And you're going to reduce a blackface image into, like, a meme type picture? And a lot of people don't seem to understand it. They think, like, oh, this is a record. Like, no, this isn't a record. Ironically, him saying what he said about his best friend, as bad as it might sound, is kind of like in fair play. That's in fair play. Because Drake mentioned his fiance. Okay, so we went tit for tat. But now when you start talking about something of the culture, when you start talking about my racial identity, which has always been there with Drake, it's always going to be there with somebody who's of light-skinned complexion. I just got done talking with a friend of mine about colorism just the other day. And I'm not up on that. Because I just recognize that if you're not white, you're essentially black. Now, there's different formations of that and different ethnic groups and different nationalities and stuff like that. But that's what it essentially is. I don't take this stuff that personal with that. But obviously, someone who looks like Drake, of his stature and his success, it's always going to be there. But why would Drake want to touch on race overall when the majority of the staple of his music is making love songs and just catchy songs that a lot of guys can get into? That's always been his bread and butter. Drake is not Talib Kweli. I don't need him addressing every issue. And that's another thing too. Common, I love Common, but Common just participated in a Starbucks video about teaching employees on how to not be racial towards black customers. I don't knock Common for that. But is Common qualified to talk about it? Yeah, because he does public outreach work in Chicago. Another artist who's linked to Kanye. What do you know it? So, like, there's a lot of stuff to unpack here. I'm just reading comments. It's so interesting that even adults that, in this 24 hours news cycle, we'll get so caught up. And like, we get so disconnected so quickly. And then we just move on from issues. Like, none of the stuff that just happened throughout this course of this string of this story ever took place. And to be fair to Pusha T, I can't put all the stuff with Kanye on him. But that should be questioned about. So wait a minute. You say you don't agree with Kanye and his stance, right? And you respect that. Well, how can you respect that about Kanye, where he says slavery was a choice, and then he says what he says about Trump, and he goes on this barrage now, and he's associated with Candace Owens. That's cool. She's at his album release, but you're going to put out in the same week of his release listening party with everyone there, you're going to put out a photo of Drake in blackface, and now his blackness and who he is on question. That's up for debate, which is why he released the statement. Because that's bigger than music right there. But that just shows you how we don't keep things together. We don't follow stories well. The okie doke has already been happening. It's happening on this side of the fence here. But, something's new is over here, so let's just focus on that. No. I don't blame Nas. I don't like Nas for being there. Because Nas was already working on his album with Kanye before this happened. Again, what's this word? Context. Nas was one of the greatest MCs before Kanye was ever thought of. Nas doesn't need Kanye, but Pusha T needs Kanye. He needs Kanye because he works for him and works with him. He's the president of his label. So, this, whole Pusha's winning. Winning what? What did he win? And as far as the tweets go, I saw the tweets. I mean, what he said, if a white guy had said that to him, if it was a white guy who said that, it'll be more outrage over it. And that's another thing. People don't keep up the same energy on that. In the context of those tweets, okay, because we just flipped out about Roseanne and what she said. If John Goodman put out the same exact tweets with Pusha T, would that be a big story? Yeah. And when he says, you had to go back all these years to find it. You just went back in 2007 to find a Sambo-like photo of Drake. So going back in Twitter in 2014 is just off the table? What are we doing? All this picking side stuff. Stop picking the sides here. And just start looking at things based off the merit of, one, who it is, what's in question, what's the context, and what are the details that are being broken down in regards to that. That's it. It's all you got to do. But a lot of people don't want to do that. And I already know a lot of this stuff is going to unfold. And I know some people feel like, Drake took an L. I'm like, listen, is Pusha T worth potentially damaging even more of your stuff? No. Do I think based off just hip hop alone, he's going to respond to him? Don't know when, but he will. And he's going to probably respond based off facts. Now, do I think that Pusha T has less to lose? Yeah, because Pusha T is not a commercial mainstream artist. He's linked to a mainstream artist on a mainstream label, but he's not a mainstream artist like that. He's not. It's not Big Sean. This was Big Sean. This is a bigger deal. Because Big Sean, and people may disagree, Big Sean, from a charisma standpoint, is the most charismatic rapper that we have going on right now. I don't even really debate that with people like that. I'm like, hey, you have a right to your opinion, but just being cool alone, Big Sean is the MC right now at this moment. But those are just some of my thoughts on this issue right now. I thank you guys for listening to this. I'm going to touch up more on this probably within the next week, because you already know that there's going to probably be more stuff coming out on this story. Who knows, Kim Kardashian was, at the White House doing prison reform talks with the president. Yeah, sounds real promising on that too. I want to thank Dee for all the support. Thank you to all the listeners through the Stay Well podcast. Thank you to everyone that listens to Could You Be More Specific. I'm your host, Jonathan Steele. Look forward to seeing you guys again. Hope to do more of these soon in the future. Okay, you guys have a good one.